So, I have something a bit old, but new, to share. Haven't done this in a while, so I bring to you twats. People who do or say the dumbest things. Well, I think they're dumb. Rather downright idiotic. Here we go. Before I hit this first one, I want you to note that the investigation is still underway, and it has not been determined whether the contact was intentional or not on the perpetrator's part. But it does go to a point we made on a recent Beyond the Trailer Park before. These people are uneducated or undereducated in the ways of the indigenous culture and should not be allowed anywhere near such.
Missionary may face genocide charges after contacting isolated Brazilian tribe.
This is from the Friendly Atheists. As Hammett notes, quote, "So, was this just a case of GPS leading a missionary astray? Perhaps, but Chow's death may have encouraged other missionaries to continue what he began by ignoring the warnings and risking their lives to spread the gospel. Campbell had also been living with the Jamamati tribe for years, but the Guardian notes that he was doing so without authorization, which suggests a history of ignoring laws to spread his faith. There are so many details we don't have yet, but the headline is one we've seen before. Unless churches teach their congregations that indigenous tribes deserve to be left alone, both for medical reasons and ethical ones, this will keep happening." Unquote. Avoiding Trump bullshit news is impossible. I've given up trying. Here's 3 stories with his slime all over them in some ways. You think the shutdown's over? Not for these folks.
The lowest paid shutdown workers aren't getting back pay.
This is from MSN.com. Quote, "Unlike the 800,000 career public servants who are slated to receive full back pay over the next week or so, the contractors who clean, guard, cook, and shoulder other jobs at federal workplaces aren't legally guaranteed a single penny. They are also among the lowest paid laborers in the government economy, generally earning between $450 and $650 weekly, union leaders say. And even as they began returning to work Monday, they were bracing for more pain. President Trump's new deadline for Congress to earmark funding for his proposed border wall is February 15th. Agencies could close again if no deal is reached. As noted by MSN, a group of Democratic senators introduced a bill last month aimed at changing that. Mark Warner, Democrat out of Virginia, Tim Kaine, another Democrat from Virginia, and Sherrod Brown, a Democrat out of Ohio, have proposed legislation that would repay contractors up to $965 per week with public monies and restore sick days used during the shutdown. It's unclear at the time I recorded this whether this will advance.
Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, suggests people send her their January salary or face consequences from God.
First of all, if you honestly think you are Trump's spiritual advisor, I'm not sure what planet you are from, what reality you are based in. The Donald takes no advice from anybody. You are window dressing, my darling. That's it. You're a fucking blonde. Second, Ignoring whether God exists for the moment, your justification makes absolutely no sense. You preach a first fruit doctrine, the idea that all firsts belong to God, including the first harvest and apparently the first month of your salary. There's one problem with that. You ain't fucking God, you moron. You, individually, and your church, deserve nothing.
Trump seemingly endorses bringing Bible study back to public schools.
This is from Hill Reporter, and they state that President Donald Trump seemed to endorse the idea that public schools across the nation should offer Bible study in their curricula, according to a tweet he issued out Monday morning. Numerous states introducing Bible literacy classes, giving students the option of studying the Bible, Trump observed in his tweet, starting to make a turn back. Great. Trump's statement is somewhat misleading. According to The Hill, states haven't yet introduced the classes to students, but rather 6 states across the country have introduced bills that would, if passed, allow or require public schools in their jurisdiction to offer such classes. Those classes would teach about the Bible in a mostly historical sense, according to reporting from Politico. Critics of the bill, however, contend that those classes would blur the line between an established separation of church and state, which forbids the reading and teaching of Bible verses in the public school setting. As Friendly Atheists note in their story, quote, the North Dakota bill at the center of this controversy died in the state Senate after a 42-5 vote against it on January 25th. Now, the last 2 stories are a titch older than the past week, but they were stories that Deb and I had discussed, and I was actually going to do a Twatwaffle, then shit happened. So they're a little bit older, but still kind of funny.
Doctors ask that you please do not put parsley in your vagina.
According to the Post, New York Post, I should say, wellness warriors seem to be obsessed with telling women to stick random things in their vaginas. And the latest piece of bizarre advice suggests sticking parsley up there to help induce your period. In a recent article by Mary Claire, and it has been since deleted, on how to bring on periods, which I really don't understand why anybody would want to do, but that's another thing. The author said that the herb is a natural emmenagogue, meaning that it can stimulate or increase menstrual flow. While that's true, there's a massive difference between sprinkling a bit of parsley over your pasta and shoving a bunch into your vagina.
Man hospitalized after injecting own semen to treat back pain.
This is from HuffPo. A new study published in the Irish Medical Journal recounts the case of a 33-year-old man who was hospitalized after repeatedly injecting himself with semen to relieve chronic back pain. And this is a quote from HuffPo, by the way. This is the first reported case of semen injection for use as a medical treatment, doctors in Dublin wrote in the case study titled Seemingly Harmless Back Pain, an Unusual Presentation of Subcutaneous Abscess. The man's handmade remedy was reportedly discovered when he showed up at a doctor's office complaining of severe back pain. While examining the patient, a physician noticed the man's right arm appeared swollen and inflamed. The explanation the man gave was one the doctors likely never expected. So, initially, I wasn't going to bring this individual up because y'all are probably getting sick of me talking about one Jillian Epperly. But the other night, she basically crossed the line for me. As some of you know, I have been tracking this twat for damn near 2 years. Well, the other night, the idiot crossed the line. She is not a doctor. She is not a psychiatrist. Nor is she a psychologist. She has no training in the health field, nor any of the pertinent sciences. She is not a trained practitioner in any medical or social work field. Her cure-all for everything A to Z, as she puts it, is a salted, rotten cabbage brew with 9 times the RDA of salt. And I do mean rotten. I ferment. I have ferment from a month ago still in my fridge. No mold. No cam yeast. She has numerous videos, numerous photos of her brews that she basically tells her minions to skim off the crud and then stir it in. Now, I've maybe since perfecting my process, I don't believe I've had any mold, ever. So, be that as it may. Now, calling LGBT folk mutated was bad enough for me. That's what caught my attention. But the other night, at about 8 o'clock p.m., she posted the following screen grab. Speaking as a former cutter, yes, it is a coping mechanism. It's what's considered a malfunctioning coping mechanism that has absolutely nothing to do with the concept of self-medication. I have no idea what she means by self-medication. I really don't know. Those of us that self-injure are prone to basically internalize our emotions, or in some cases, the emotions of others. In my case, I took my father's anger at my so-called fuck-ups and turned them into a form of self-punishment when my boundaries were crossed and I blamed myself. In other words, I couldn't put my foot down without caving. I was an enabler. And it used to piss me off to the point where I'd get angry at myself because I'd get used and abused and taken advantage of, yada yada yada. You talk to anybody who self-injures, and each and every specific case has a different psychological background to it. In other words, each case is different. If you, specifically Jillian, if you think those that self-injure get or got, in my case, are jollies from slicing and dicing, you are very, very wrong. You aren't making a connection. You're not having a light bulb moment of understanding. You're a stupid fucking twat who has no business spouting off about something you know nothing about. You're going to do more harm than you are good. You basically are hurting people who take your words as gospel. Seriously, Jillian, shut the fuck up. You do not have any science behind your protocol. There is no supporting evidence that your protocol would even work. What you are doing is slowly suiciding people by consuming massive amounts of salt. End of rant.